So the ban list dropped last weekend, and I'm not gonna pretend like nothing changed. Clearly, some decks are better than they used to be before, and some decks are also worse than they used to be before. And I want to say that's the beauty of Yu-Gi-Oh! When things get stale for too long, Konami jumps in and actually changes things up. Anyways, my job today is to try to figure out what are the best decks to play this format so people can start getting ready for the World Championship qualifiers. But of course, before this video starts, my man, please smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. It makes me really happy, and I love being happy. Thank you very much, and now let's get right into it. So I'm actually gonna start immediately with an honorable mention, which would be Tenyi Sword Soul featuring Danglong. I honestly have no idea if this strategy would really be worth playing because Danglong is obviously a broken card, but only if you're willing to play a lot of bricks in order to make it good. You're obviously not trying to draw the Yangzing monsters needed for Danglong to be good, like Chiwin or Suwani or Bian, and 9 Pillars is also really not ideal to draw. But when you're not drawing any of the bad cards and you're drawing the good cards instead, aka when you're being skillful at Yu-Gi-Mons, this deck is actually really disgusting. If someone randomly manages to come up with like a revolutionary build, this deck could actually end up being like, I don't know, maybe the next top tier or something. But anyways, let's get right into the top 10 now. The number 10 position would be Super Heavy Samurai as a pure deck, actually. The deck is obviously still respectable and can do some pretty nice things. I wouldn't be, unreasonable and say the opposite. With that being said, I'd also be delusional if I told you guys that this deck was still as good as before. Losing the Link 1 monster clearly hurts, and now the deck is way more susceptible to hand traps. And of course, Soul Piercer is no longer a 1-card starter, so the deck also got a consistency nerf. It can go up and down in the tier list depending on if people want to play Droll or not in their main deck this format. But honestly, I do believe that Super Heavy Samurai is better off as an engine in a deck like maybe Machina or Infinite Track. It's for you to decide. But nevertheless, it is still a very respectable option. Number 9 is a deck that I personally despise, and it actually got a really big nerf. I'm talking about purely a deck that tries to turbo out one of the most oppressive boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! There is only one catch though, and that's the fact that when you're not turboing out Expurely Noir, your deck is absolute dog shit. I feel like now, if you can't really get access to Delicious Memory, which is now at 1 and very difficult to search, you're not going to be ending your turn very often with Expurely Noir, but rather with E-Purely Beauty. That card's basically an imperm. Nobody's really scared of that. I'll be honest though, I do believe that high-level players can still make it work, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily for the average player. Honestly, I'm more scared of them citing Vanity's Fiend against me post-game 1 than anything they can do in the main deck. Number 8 is one of my favorite decks, and that would be Sky Striker. The position is not set in stone. It can either go up or down depending on what people do in the format. For example, if we get Azalea and Camellia in Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge, the deck could actually become way better, but I don't think that's gonna happen. We can always hope though. And unfortunately, the deck could actually end up being complete garbage if everybody starts citing Anti-Spell Fragrance this format. Anyway, Sky Striker is still a very good option going second, and it can break pretty much just any board. It's also very technical, and the mirror match is also really skillful if you're into that. But without Mystic Mind, the deck is still realistically just a fair deck, even with multiple engages, although I will say the deck is still drastically better than before. Alright, number 7 is Dragon Link, a deck that actually got new support and completely dodged the ban list. We will be getting Assault Synchron in Battles of Legend, and that's really relevant because it allows us to abuse Chaos Ruler. Just kidding, Chaos Ruler is banned at the TCG, so we have to use this shitty card instead. Black Feather Dark Rage Dragon is basically Chaos Ruler at home because you can mill 5 cards whenever you take damage, and you can easily do that with Assault Synchron. But whatever, who cares, the deck has other options anyways. And the deck is also really good at being able to play the Bestial monsters, which is relevant in case people start playing Despia or other light and dark strategies. And the cool thing about the Bestial monsters in Dragon Link is that you're not forced to only search Bestial monsters. You can search just about any dragon monster, including Rocket Tracer, and get your engine started from there. Anyways, next up is a deck that I understand pretty well because I just stopped a YCS with it. I'm talking about Math Mech, and I can promise you that the deck is very, very, very far from being dead. It lost 2 copies of Circular, and honestly, it changes nothing to my life because I was playing one-sided mining anyways, so I can just trade 2 Circular for 2-sided minings, and my life is just about the same. The deck is very consistent, can play with 1 card, of course, can play like 15 hand traps, draws a lot of cards, and I want to say it is one of the best decks at OT King, and also playing around the hand traps as well because 1 hand trap is usually never enough against Math Mech. But I will have to be 100% honest and say that in a Bestial heavy format like this one, potentially, Math Mech might actually be a little worse because Bestial monsters are really good at countering Super Factorial. And Math Mech might actually end up suffering from the same collateral damage as Despia if that deck becomes the next best deck. Anyways, next up is Vanquish Soul, a deck that is technically new to the TCG, and the fact that it's new might actually contribute to its success. The deck plays with 1 card, has some pretty respectable combo lines, and doesn't lose to Nibiru because you only need 4 summons. And you can play Floodgates like there can only be one and Skill Drain really well because you can tag out your monsters so when they resolve they are no longer on the field so that your own Skill Drain really doesn't affect you. And there can only be one is perfect because all of your monsters have different types. But then again, the deck can brick when you do not have access to Soul Rising. You also need to play a bunch of Earth, Fire, and Dark monsters, which makes deck building very predictable. With that being said, I am willing to bet that a pro player will find a way to break this deck or at least pilot it to perfection. In the number 4 position is Kashtira, and I will have to admit that it did get a little nerf from last format at least. Without Diablosis, there's pretty much no reason to even pop off turn 1. I would just honestly end on a Rizard and 4 summons and pass turn there. You can still control the game state with Skill Drain or Floodgates or whatever makes you happy. Your monsters are really big, so you really don't have to care too much. And in the number 3 position is a tie between a bunch of decks actually. So I'm talking about Runic, not just as a deck, but also as an engine. Runic Stun is the most enjoyable deck you will ever have the pleasure of facing against in a YCS. I'm extremely sarcastic. That deck is a pain in the ass, and the purpose is to stop you from having fun by banishing all of your cards away. Really fun and interactive. And nobody gives 2 shits about Runic Fountain going to 2. Anyways, the Runic engine is still really good, and the Sprite deck can actually play it really well. If you want to, you can also not play the Runic engine and Sprite and just play it pure with Melfi cards or for higher cards if you want to. Overall, a lot of options, which is always appreciated. Alright, and the number 2 spot is a deck that can mold itself to just about any format depending on how you want to beat the format, and that would be Labyrinth. So before the ban list we just got, people were playing the furniture build as it was really fast and could actually play a lot of hand traps. But with that being said, nothing forces you to play this build right now. You can actually go back to the trap heavy build if you want to. But yeah, the deck has a crazy recursion game, so if you make it past turn 1, you're pretty much always winning the game. Alright, the moment you've all been waiting for. I honestly believe that Despia is the best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! This format. Konami didn't really address any of the degeneracy the deck was accused of because, you can still do the exact same things as before. Big deal, Branded Expulsion is banned, nobody cares. And the reason why I say that is because Albion the Sanctifier Dragon literally has the exact same effect. And because of the fact that Kashtira will actually see less play now, I actually believe that Despia will be even better because we're going to have less shifters and less Rizard running around. So get ready to get logged by Gimmick Puppet Nightmare or Jagan the Spiritualist every single game. That's pretty scary if you ask me. But I'll be honest with you, Despia is extremely difficult to play and definitely not for everyone. Anyways, that's it for my top 10 best decks video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you think that I missed anything or if you think that a deck might be better or worse in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.